Stanley Evan Bowen, 20, was one of thousands of young men who left Winnipeg in 1916 to fight in Europe. Between that time and the end of the First World War, he wrote more than 150 letters to his fiancée, Mary McNair. Stan's first letter to Mary was sent after he said goodbye at the Canadian Pacific Rail Station in Winnipeg to board a troop train. May 26, 1916. Dearest Mary, I have just opened your first note, and it brought you so close I cried like a baby. It was truly the sweetest note ever written, but I wanted you so much and felt so helpless, I crawled into my bunk and let my feelings go. This may seem very childish from a corporal in the King's Army, but I couldn't help it. Somehow I can't get away from your note. I love it so much, although it makes my heart ache, and I only hope mine will mean as much to you as yours did to me. Keep on being brave, dear. You acted like a thoroughbred this morning and taught me a lesson in self-control and courage. Remember, we are only separated for a time, and it won't be long. I cannot tell you very much about the scenery. It is practically all the same. Nothing but rock, pine trees, and water. I try to be interested in looking out the window, but my thoughts always go back to the sweetest little girl in the world and all the good times we had together. I can't think of Winnipeg or home or anything, but only how beautiful you are and how sweet it was to kiss you. The boys are very boisterous, but I don't envy them very much. I just think of all the loveliness there is waiting for me in Winnipeg and how happy I will be when I go back. This will be all for now. It is very difficult to write when the train is going. I have to be flat down in my bunk and write on the floor. A world full of love and kisses. Your own true Stan. After training in England in August 1916, Stan and his fellow troops travel to the front lines in France. On Christmas Day, Stan shares his wartime holiday experience. Dear Mary, just a few lines direct from the trenches on this Christmas Day to let you know how I spent my time. We came yesterday to the reserves, but are very comfortable already. I'm in a small dugout, 7 by 7 with a good fire, and am quite warm. There isn't too much room for the two of us, as we have to keep our wood pile in with us, or someone else would, but managed to sleep quite comfortably considering. The day passed quite uneventfully. That is, we cleaned up the trenches and gathered firewood the same as usual, but of course everyone talked of other Christmases and how novel this one is. My grub was very good and I enjoyed my meals just fine. Of course it was nothing like other years, but the novelty and the conditions helped and we felt very thankful and cheerful. The evening, though, brought a real present, sweetheart. 3 letters from you, and though it was hard to learn you were still in bed, it was such a relief and joy to hear from you. Your Christmas will be a bit dreary maybe this year, but I'm sure God will be good to us and we'll never have to spend another one apart. I can't help thinking how hard it must be for you just now, but be brave, my soldier wife, as I'm coming home soon. Remember always, dear sweetheart, I love you. Stan. An excerpt from April 1917, written 2 days after the Allies launched the assault on Vimy Ridge. April 11, 1917. Dear sweetheart, I suppose you will be pretty anxious just now as the papers will be pretty full of news about the Canadians. Well, sweetheart, God was good to me, as my brigade job is fairly safe, and I certainly feel grateful at my good fortune. I'm writing a few lines from a dugout back of the front line, while waiting to go on a ration party. We've had a pretty tiresome time lately, but since having a sleep, don't feel too bad. Our dugout is none too deep, and as shells are lighting fairly close, the concussion jars the place continually. We can hear the machine guns firing away, and our own guns are going practically continually. In spite of all that though, the boys are all talking away as though miles from the line. One is playing a mouth organ, and the tunes certainly make me think of our good old times together. Oh well, sweetheart, the war is practically at an end now, and we'll soon be together again. Later in 1917, Stan suffered serious shrapnel injuries by an exploding shell in Méricourt, France. He wrote Mary from a French hospital. September 18, 1917. Dearest girl, I hope I'm the first to let you know that I've been wounded, because you won't worry at all when I explain how slight it is. In fact, they're so small they hardly bother me at all now. Just after we had taken over the front line, Fritzy decided to irritate us, and one of his whiz-bangs lit rather close to me as I was visiting the sentries. 3 very small splinters hit me, one in the back of the shoulder, one on the jaw, and one on the finger. They were all very small, and as no bones were broken or any internal harm done, you can see I'll soon be well again, and in the meantime, we'll enjoy a month or 2 holiday. After another letter from the hospital, Stan disappeared for months. He was eventually found recuperating in a convalescent home. In time, Stan returned to sentry duty and to writing, and in some letters expressed his anxiety. May 12, 1918, Sussex, England. I get so panic-stricken when I think of all I've done to you. My heart drops below zero and my courage fades away altogether, and I want to run away from everything and everybody. I'm sure nobody will ever be able to understand, not even you, because really I can't understand myself. I've always wanted to write to you, but when I tried, I felt so dismal and such a cad my mind seemed to go numb, putting it off from morning till afternoon till the next day. You'll have some idea of how I've been. Honestly, at times I think I must be part crazy, and perhaps I am. I feel like hiding away somewhere and being a baby and having a good cry. After more than 2 years of writing to Mary, and with the end of the war just weeks away, Stan sends his final letter. September 29, 1918. Germany is getting such a hammering now, Mary mine. It won't be long until I'm back. And dearest, there's such a big chance of me not going back to France again, meaning that I'll come back to you as sound as I left, and be able to start real life without the handicap of injuries, as so many men will have to. I've got such a gnawing longing to just hold you tight in my arms and just allow the wonderfulness and delight of your nearness sort of soak in and wash away all my lonesomeness and misery. Millions and millions of hugs and kisses, dearest girl of mine. I'll be home soon, and will make up for all my present blackness. I love you, and want, dear little lover. Your own lover, Stan. Stan was finally discharged and sent home from the army in April 1919. Stan and Mary were married in January 1920. They had a daughter and son in 40 years of marriage before Stan died in 1959. Mary lived until 1984, with all of Stan's letters stored in the basement.